Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Ivamy.
And I'm Diana McCullum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of heroic television or film. And this week on the podcast, we're boldly going where a TV movie went.
They went there. We went there. I think no one has gone there before. I'm not sure there's been a Star Trek made-for-TV movie before.
Oh, interesting.
Because there's been Star Trek movies. This might be the first. They might have boldly gone to the made-for-TV movie world.
Yeah, or whatever you call it now when it's
streaming.
made for VOD. Made for streaming. Yeah,
it's movie length.
It's a movie length project that is on Paramount Plus. We're talking about Star Trek Section 31.
Yes, as Andrew said, the new Star Trek movie on Paramount Plus starring Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, a spin-off of the Star Trek Discovery series in many regards, but obviously in just the general overall Star Trek universe.
It's Star Trek.
It's Star Trek.
You been in a ship? You been in space?
Yeah.
That's Star Trek, baby.
Have you trekked through the stars?
They're doing it.
They're doing it over here. And we're talking about Star Trek Section 31 today on the podcast. This is a new movie that just came out. And as we do anytime that we talk about a new movie or TV show, we are going to give you a spoiler-free review. So in case you're on the fence about seeing it, not sure if it's worth your time, or just want a taste of the episode, we're going to give you a spoiler-free review. Then once you hear the theme music, that is when we will enter the spoiler-filled section. So let's start with the spoiler-free review, the usual simple question. Diana, did you like it?
The usual simple answer. No. This is trash. This sucks. This is terrible. I hate my job sometimes. So if you're wondering if you should check it out, you don't even have to listen to anything else. Do not. Don't watch this. It's terrible. Has people I really like in it. Michelle Yeoh, Sam Richardson, two of my favorite people in the world to watch. It's still absolutely miserable. They're not bringing anything. None of the other actors are bringing anything. The storyline's a mess. It doesn't make any sense. The dialogue's bad. The story's bad. The fights look bad. The special effects look bad. Some of the costumes are nice. There we go. If you look at some pictures from the movie, maybe at most is what you should do with this piece of garbage. Michelle Yeoh, what were you doing? You're executive producer of this. And also just drag Section 31's name through the mud, a thing I really like. So it makes me kind of mad at it, because I think Section 31's really cool. And they're just not competent people in this movie, and it's upsetting. I don't like anybody. There's not going to be a lot of positives in this episode, but there will be goofs. So look forward to those, everybody. Andrew, can't wait to find out. Did you like Section 31?
This is a mess.
Oh,
yeah, they whiffed it. They whiffed it bad. It reeks of everything from production side went wrong. I feel bad dunking on it. We'll have some goofs. There's some very funny stuff about this. But at the end of the day, it's worse than the sum of its parts. There is some incredible talent in here. I don't mean to besmirch this and be like, well, it's because everyone involved is bad. No, everyone involved is actually quite good, and they all deserve better. And this is something that I think has just been in production hell and has been noted to shit. And it's something that it's like originally it was supposed to be a TV series, and I think they were developing that. And then it was like, no, let's make a movie. Let's move the movie to streaming. So I think this is on its fourth iteration of a business decision saying that we're not willing to lose money on this. Let's crap this one out. So I would say that the general vibe while watching this is that an executive said, let's crap this one out. We've gone too far to turn back. But yeah, lots of good talent that are just kind of wasted in here in a thing that's just a mess. And I agree with you. It hurts Section 31, which I have said on other episodes where we've covered Star Trek, where I'm like, I feel like that was just kind of this golden key that no one was turning. I'm like, Section 31 is such a great idea for a story and a spy series. And I believe, if I remember correctly, they touch and implied upon it in the recent season of Picard at one point, but it wasn't like the Section 31 story. It was a reminder that, hey, remember that thing from DS9? It still exists. So I'm sad because I really think that this was a gold mine of potential storytelling that just got kind of relegated to the trenches of production hell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't think it's good. I don't think it's worth anyone's time, which is rare to say for a movie that is a tight 90 minutes. Normally when things are 90 minutes and we cover it on the podcast, even if it's a bad 90 minutes, we're normally of the opinion of like, it's 90 minutes.
You know
There's
what?
a couple good things in 90 minutes.
People worked hard. Go check it out. You got 90 minutes.
You've got 90 minutes. Watch it while you're eating dinner today or
But you
something
know
like
what?
that. Throw it on during a workout or lunch. It's 90 minutes. But I don't know if this is worth the 90 minutes.
No, this is like taking 90 minutes away from you.
Yeah.
That you could be spending napping, walking in a circle, staring into the distance.
Staring into the middle distance.
And even at something nice to look at.
It's rough.
Or just look at photos of the costumes for
Yeah.
90 minutes.
Yeah.
Pictures of Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, watch anything
Any
else
kind
Michelle
of-
Yeoh has been
Any
in.
kind of slideshow.
Go check out Detroiters.
Sam.
You know, Sam Richardson is a generational delight, but it's not in this one. Not in this one. It's less than the sum of its parts.
Now, I'm curious. I actually haven't looked up the production of this because what I'm curious about is I know Michelle Yeoh was doing Discovery. She did like more episodes than we saw because her evil part comes into the regular
Yeah,
part.
full disclosure for the hard Trekkies, we are Trek fans, but we did not continue through to recent seasons of Discovery.
Yeah, so I didn't watch her Section 31 stuff. I knew she joined Section 31 in the show. I think I watched like half an episode.
Yeah, I think that was kind of up to where where we haven't kept up.
Yeah, so I knew she did that. So they announced almost immediately that they were going to do a spin-off show with her, and then they kind of unannounced it. But then she got an Oscar for Everything Everywhere All at Once. So I wonder if they were like, what about a movie real quick? We would love to get you back. Because then her like calendar really filled up. She got Wicked. So these are just my thoughts of like, how did this happen? Why did it get rushed and made so poorly? I'm like, I wonder if any like kind of Oscar buzz, like, oh, we actually have her contracted technically. Forced servitude of Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it could be something like that. And can this be spoiled?
Oh, God, no. Do you know, I can't even imagine trying to be spoiled or trying to spoil this for someone. I'd have to understand what happened. I'd have to follow the plot.
I frankly think I know less about Star Trek having watched this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm less of a Trekkie. I know fewer things about Star Trek.
This damaged our brains.
Yeah,
I have brain damage.
I think Picard is captain of the Millennium Falcon, is how much this has hurt my knowledge of Star Trek.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, I think that's right now. I think that's right now.
Yeah, and he's a good captain.
And he's a good one, but he's of the Millennium Falcon. Yeah, so it's, wow. Well, let's get into the spoiler-filled section of the episode where we're going to have some goofs on this one, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about Star Trek Section 31. All right, we have seen Star Trek Section 31, and it was a very long 90 minutes to watch.
We've rarely had to take a break in a 90-minute movie, and
Yeah.
we had to pause this one. Yeah, it feels long. This is worse than Craven. This is worse than a lot of bad things we've watched.
This is, and I'm sorry for Sony to say this, because Sony didn't invent this problem, but the Spider-Man universe, villain verse of films that Sony created has kind of owned this problem over recent years, where it is that production hell thing of a lot of people are saying lines when they're not on camera to fill in a bunch of blanks of things that they didn't film or didn't get around to or reshot or just were trying to tighten up and crap this thing out. There's a lot of people saying things when they're not on camera.
That's not where I thought that sentence was going at all. I thought you were going to say movies about villains and then you don't care about the main character.
Oh, it's also that.
Yeah, because I don't give a shit about a genocidal dictator.
Yeah.
Why are you here? Go die somewhere. You're terrible.
Yes.
Even if you are Michelle Yeoh. I don't want to see you redeemed or succeed. I just want you to die.
They went too far with
They
her.
went too far. She's
Yes.
way too genocidal.
Yeah. She is the dictator of a whole universe who ran over here and now is chaotic neutral at best.
At best.
At
She's
best
doing
is chaotic
bad
neutral.
things at
Yeah.
her bar for sure.
Yeah.
Here, actually, you know what? If we're slightly on her backstory, I will say this is one of my few positives. I think this whole Hunger Games Emperor thing is actually pretty cool.
That's not a bad. Yeah. There's some decent like world premise stuff in here that I'm like, oh, that's kind of fun. Yeah.
Like how do you get to be an evil emperor? It's like, well, they take thousands of kids and the most evil one gets to be emperor. I'm like, it's actually pretty cool.
It's kind of cool.
That's neat.
That's kind of a cool idea.
And you don't have to even want to have been emperor. They'll force it upon you if you're just the coolest, most evil.
Even just calling it the Terran Empire, I'm like, that has a hit to it. That's got a good mouthfeel. There's some good lore. There is some good lore that they dropped in here.
Yeah, so the beginning actually gave me I'm like, this might be cool. This is neat.
Well, even the beginning. So it opens with the
The very beginning.
the backstory.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, okay. No, let's
Wait,
open.
which was the start? Was it the narration or the backstory? I think the backstory.
The backstory was first. It starts with the terrible quote from
Oh, Jesus.
Achilles. I'm sorry I didn't look up how to pronounce this Greek name, but it's just, I am going to say one of the worst quotes of Greek tragedy and Greek mythology, where it's just, I should have brought it up. I should have brought it up to say it verbatim.
If you said it verbatim, it would be nonsense. We had to go back to the first couple of seconds of this, and we're like, was that a sentence in English? Did we get a non-English
Did someone
version?
die while they were typing this?
Yeah. Because the paraphrase that I wrote down is, fate makes a sword early or something.
Yeah.
That's the crux of it.
The fate of the sword is that the sword was forged before.
Yeah.
And
Actually, it wasn't phrased that way because what you just said made sense of like,
kind of.
you know you're going to be a killer if you forged a sword already.
Yes.
Okay, yours makes sense. Achilles's didn't follow the logic.
It read like a misquote. It read like a misquote. Like the idea of like, the famous like have your cake and eat it too, but the actual quote is eat your cake and have it too. So that's the actual quote. It's that you can't eat your cake and have it too, which makes way more sense because it prefaces with a destruction of an object and then you cannot possess the object. But people say you can't have your cake and eat it too. And it's like, well, you actually can. You can have cake and then eat it. Those things actually are sequential. And it feels like that level of misquote where it's just like, did someone flipsy doodle the order of this? Where it's like fate makes a sword and it's a sword that was forged. I'm like, well, yeah, you gotta make a sword to have a sword? It's a bad quote.
It's a bad quote. Yeah, to me it had the vibes of a quote that went through Google Translate like 10 years ago. Not current day Google Translate. Current Google Translate would have done a much better job.
Yeah.
But a back in the day Google Translate that was like, we mostly do nouns. Word nouns translates.
That episode of Monster Factory where they ran it through 50 translation filters for Dark Souls, which, by the way, if any of you want to have a YouTube journey, I love Monster Factory from the McElroys, but there's an episode where they play Dark Souls, they run it through 50 translation filters, and it is just absolutely bananas.
Mm-hmm. So off the bat, we get this weird-ass quote that's not good. And I think you paused and you're like, okay, it's from a Greek tragedy, so I guess it's forgivable. I'm like, doesn't mean they had to use it.
You had a good point of the fact that they don't have to use it.
There's so many other quotes.
Yeah, you could use a good quote. You could use a good quote.
Millions of quotes.
But I'm sure that, in the year that was written, that was a banger, but it doesn't work now.
I'm sure when you're one of the first guys who wrote anything, people are going nuts over fate makes a sword early.
Yeah, I don't think it was hard to have a banger.
That's the thing. It was only like, we only had 5 words, 6.
Yeah.
I think 3 people could read.
I would have been cranking stuff out.
I would have been the king or queen. I was like, do I want to be Stephen King? I'm like, who's the most prolific writer? Shakespeare.
Yeah, I would have went with like a Socrates for the time.
Well, he's like for the time. I want to be a modern day star.
Okay.
I want to be the Beyonce of writing in the year 0.
Oh, shit. That's hot. That's some hot stuff. So it opens with a terrible quote, and then we get the backstory of Michelle Yeoh's character, which is this kid who's like, yeah, it's the Hunger Games, but you get to become the emperor if you win because you're the most badass person in the world then. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you. too. It's great lore building. I think it's a pretty cool idea for like, whoa, this is like a real Klingon, the strongest get to lead type of an empire, but for the human race, and it's how bad things have gotten.
And the competition takes 2 years, so I'm kind of like, oh, I get how you got forged into like a suicide, into a homicidal maniac. Yeah, they built you this way. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that kid actor actually does a really good job. The one who plays young Michelle Yeoh, I think that she does a pretty good job of kind of trying to match Michelle Yeoh's cadence and rhythm as this character while still having like a good scene that she owns. I think she does a very good job with this, which is cool lore, but a little stiff. And I think the thing that hurts this opening sequence the most is that no one else feels like people. It's her coming home to meet her family after she's like one of the last two in this contest to be emperor. And it's just all exposition, and her family feel like people who did not exist 3 seconds before the scene started, where it's like she's got a brother and her parents are just like, and then what happens at the contest? And it's like the sky is filled with ships and armies, and it's like, and like they have no emotion. There's no like back and forth of like, we've missed you, or like, you made us dinner. She's like bleeding from her lips, and she's like, I made dinner. And then they all eat it, and it's poison. She's like, I had to kill you.
Yeah, and the family doesn't feel like they know why she was gone for 2 years. She's like, I was in a contest to become the emperor, and they're like, wide-eyed, like, whoa, really? And it's like, wait, they didn't know where she was? They don't know about the contest to become emperor? Like, yeah, definitely some back and forth with the family to like flesh them out.
Yes.
Would have made that more impactful.
Yeah, and I think that is, we'll kind of get into that, but like that's a broader problem with this whole movie where it's all lore and no human characters, where like no one talks like a human being, none of the friendships feel real, nothing feels like natural, and how people interact. It's just everyone reading Wikipedias about what's going on. So it's just kind of like laying pipe, and everyone is just a prop while expositional pipe is being laid.
Yeah, no one feels like they trust each other at the end or would be friends or are actually getting along. It actually, and in a way, that's kind of nice, because hear me out. There are a lot of movies and TV shows about a group of misfits who create a found family, and they act like that never happens. It's so hard for misfits to bond together and work together because we're misfits. And this movie is like, sometimes it doesn't work. So you know what? Maybe appreciate those fast and furious crazy people.
Maybe appreciate the Guardians of the Galaxy, because it's not so easy to mesh as a team.
Yeah, the Leverage crew is really doing something phenomenal over there. So this team doesn't work at all, even at the end.
No, they don't. No. They've got a lot of problems.
They've got a lot of problems. So it's not as easy as some things make it look.
And then after the backstory of Michelle Yeoh's character as a child, then it goes into, that's when the VO kicks in. And that's when the writing gets really rough. We were confused. We were looking around.
I thought I was in the wrong place, even though I was in my home watching a movie I'd hit play on. I was like, oh, I'm in the wrong theater? Because this kind of like Mission Impossible-esque opening starts, and it's Jamie Lee Curtis. And it's like, why is Jamie Lee Curtis doing this? But everything is phrased, and this is this only happens when Jamie Lee Curtis is doing stuff, which is the beginning and the end. Everything is phrased like, I'm going to go capture Michelle Yeoh.
It's written in the second person.
Like a video game.
Like a video game. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. It's like a Mission Impossible debrief.
I'm Ethan Hunt.
But in that scenario, you see Ethan Hunt sit down. Ethan Hunt is the lead character of Mission Impossible, and it says, "Hello, Ethan Hunt. Your mission," and you know as an audience member that they are talking to Ethan Hunt. We have not met a lead character in this. And in fact, they establish Michelle Yeoh is not currently part of Section 31. They've written her out of that off screen. But you need to go recruit her. And I'm like, Me? Us? We're not ready. We're on our couch.
I don't have the ability. Why am I in a Reader X fan fiction right now with the you verbs? It's a second person POV for like 4 minutes. Because yeah, there is like 6 people on this Section 31 team. We haven't seen or been introduced to any of them. So this is our briefing as an audience.
Yeah.
And it almost seems like it's trying to be cute, but it absolutely doesn't fit the vibes of the background we just saw.
No.
The like cool, dark, like actually kind of cool like backstory we just got of Michelle Yeoh, and then it's like, and now we're in a fun Mission Impossible-esque zany little thing, and then it's serious again, and it feels like they were just like, we got Jamie Lee Curtis, and she wants to do something weird, and we're not going to tell her no.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened here.
Yeah, they were both in Everything Everywhere All at Once. We called them. Is that anything?
Is that anything?
No.
No, that's not Star Trek.
No, nothing.
No one who likes Star Trek cares.
Nothing's written in second person. It is Reader X fanfic and video games. Those are the only two things ever written in second person.
The craziest part is at the end, when the caption comes up on the screen. It says, 3 of your Earth weeks later.
Your Earth weeks?
Me, the viewer?
Who are we talking to?
Whose story is this?
Yes, yeah.
Whose story is this?
Is the great question.
Why is it not Michelle Yeoh's or Section 31's following of time?
Yes. Yeah. And then you add to that the fact that this movie uses title cards. It says like Mission 1, and it tells you it's like Mission 1, get her back on board. Mission 2, find the MacGuffin. And it comes up with like level loading screen title cards. And it's like, you need to go track down Michelle Yeoh. Or I forget Michelle Yeoh's character's name.
Giorgio.
Yeah. So Giorgio, you have to go track down Giorgio. Mission number 1. Here's the planet it's on. And I'm like, there was a moment where I'm like, this feels like a free-to-play mobile video game. I feel like I'm having a stroke. I don't know what's happening.
I felt like I was having a stroke for a lot of this. I mean this absolutely sincerely. I had a headache for a lot of this afternoon, and I think this movie caused it.
Yeah.
The editing was frenetic. The plot didn't make any sense. I was squinting to understand accents, if that makes any sense. If you can't understand someone and you just kind of lean forward and squint really hard, and the accent to no accent ratio in this movie is insane. It's like the movie is fueled by increasingly terrible accents.
Diana, you just hit like 9 things
I'm so
that are
sorry,
the whole episode.
But that's what makes the headache.
Yes,
of
course.
And then I actually had to have a nap and take an Advil, and now it's late at night, and we normally do this earlier, but my head hurts so much.
Second person?
You're still on second person.
You? Who's you?
But only at the beginning and the end do we do that. But then because the missions, I was like, is this my mission? Or am I watching the mission logs that Section 31 has archived?
Yeah.
It's unclear.
It's unclear.
It's unclear.
It's entirely unclear.
It's unclear.
What it feels like in terms of how it is written. So originally, this was supposed to be a TV show.
Yeah, they were giving her own show. They were like, we love Michelle Yeoh. Everyone thinks she's great. Own show for her.
And I think as a business decision, that makes a lot of sense. Michelle Yeoh is a star. She's phenomenal in everything. Star Trek is beloved. Let's give Michelle Yeoh a Star Trek show. What could go wrong? And I think that is a good decision to make. But how this movie plays out and how everyone says it is that I don't want to get too inside baseball, so I'm just going to glance over this. But when you're making a season of television, you make something called a show Bible or a seasonal arc. It's basically just like, it can vary between like a 3-page to 100-page document where it's just like, here's what's going to happen in different episodes. Or if it's a big seasonal arc, here's what happens throughout the season. Here's the big MacGuffin we'll reveal at episode 10. Here's the big villain in episode 13 to 15, whatever your structure might be. This feels like they wrote the series Bible, which doesn't have the dialogue, which doesn't have the moment-to-moment scenes. It just has the overall vibe of what's going to happen. And then they just had actors read that like it was a movie, because they never really wrote anyone dialogue. Everyone just kind of said what the idea of a season of the Section 31 TV show would be.
That did happen. Yes. That is absolutely what happened, because we don't know any of these characters except Michelle Yeoh. So insanely large team to introduce in a 90-minute movie. I think 6-7 people, I'm not even sure. So they're introducing all these characters, all her backstory people and everything.
Her Guardians of the Galaxy.
Her Guardians of the Galaxy. And I think introducing them took 20 minutes. And And that's all that was happening in the scene. Sam Richardson is just like, and this guy, he's a tiny little nanobot in a Vulcan robot. Now, you're going to ask, how can you be a tiny nanobot in a Vulcan robot? Look at him. He is. And the Vulcan robot's like, but you're a guy in a mech suit. Yeah, look at my mech suit. It's attached to my arms. And that's 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And that's not a movie.
It felt like a child telling me a story.
Ooh.
Yeah. Where it's just like, you don't know the beats of a story, kid.
Yeah, it felt like it should have been like so fast and fun, like original Suicide Squad, like title cards come up and they're just like, this guy's a mech suit, deal with it.
Yeah.
Instead, they sat in it for so long. It also felt like they only had 3 sets.
Yes.
Which is why they had to spend so long in every single set.
It felt like they only filmed 3 scenes.
Yeah.
This has the fewest scenes per movie of any movie.
Have you seen a play? Then you've seen Section 31.
A play has more scenes. This has the fewest scenes per anything that I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's not. So many edits, so few scenes.
So many edits.
Oh,
so many.
The edits.
And the edit, talking about it making you dizzy, one thing that drives me nuts in this is it looks cheap. It is filmed, I think, on tripods, on locked down cameras, and they've added a digital shaky effect to make it look like it's handheld cameras, and there's digital zoom, which isn't actually like zooming the lens of a camera. It's just kind of making a thing bigger and zooming in. It's kind of what you would do on your phone. So everything looks like it was done on a phone versus a professional camera or a film studio. It looks like it was filmed and edited on a phone.
Yeah, it does. It does have those like kind of like TikTok fan cam edit cuts in it. It's like, oh wow, that one like went sideways. And that one had some lens flare added on top of it. Ooh, she breathed out sparkles.
I guess that's something.
Well, even just like choreography, because like also when I see Michelle Yeoh in something, I'm like, it's gonna be awesome fight scenes, right? Like, these are going to be great. She's so good at fight scenes. And the choreography shit, it's filmed like shit. There's nothing done. They filmed this in a weekend.
There was one moment that I even noticed where it was Michelle Yeoh who knows how to do fight choreography. She's an accomplished stunt performer and fighter. And there was a moment she does like a spin move in kind of the final fight sequence. And then it cuts away to like some exposition. It's Sam Richardson on the ship. And he's like, oh, the
tractor beam and the garbage.
We got a tractor beam and there's garbage and the singularity's closing. And then it cuts back to the fight scene and they reuse the same shot. And I'm like, but I know I saw it. You just showed that. It's the same footage. You showed me the same sequence twice, trying to make me think that it was new fight scene.
And you know what was crazy about using the same sequence twice? It wasn't even an impressive move.
No.
If it was like a crazy hard kick and they were like, and then we flipped it just so we could use it twice to be like, wow, what a cool kick. It was literally just like a front kick. It was just a push kick away.
It wasn't that much.
It wasn't that much.
It wasn't cool.
But like, she can still do great choreography. Like, she just did Shang-Chi. She just did Everything Everywhere All at Once. Even the Witcher prequel, which was terrible, like also, Michelle Yeoh, why are you doing such terrible projects? She was doing martial arts as well. So like, she's still got it.
She's got it, yeah.
She's got it. She didn't kick any ass in Wicked, but that's a musical with magic.
Nothing about this made me lose faith in Michelle Yeoh.
Oh, I've lost no faith in any, like double down, because I haven't lost faith in Sam Richardson.
Yeah.
I believe when a movie fails on every level, you're like, anyone here could be a genius. We'll just never know. There's no way to know. When no one is shining,
no one.
We're just all in the dark.
Yeah. You like a comedian isn't shining, and he's playing a comedic character. He's supposed to be the funny one, I think.
He's supposed to be the funny one, but then they also made 2 other funny ones.
Yeah.
They're like, Mech Suit and Nanobot Guy are also funny. I'm like, you can't have half the team be funny.
No, it doesn't work.
And
like
also,
that.
like the same kind of loud, yelly funny. So, like, you just have, like, 3 rocket raccoons.
Oops, all rockets.
Oops, all rocket. Like, one's a mech guy, one's a nanotech guy. And then I think Sam Richardson, even though he was a shapeshifter, was just, like, smart. He was real smart. He made, like, the choices and did math in his head a lot.
Yeah.
So you had 3 rocket raccoons and just, like, no Draxes, no Groots, no Star-Lords.
Two things it reminded me of. One was when we covered Borderlands. I believe that was one of our Patreon exclusives.
Oh, I think that was a Patreon exclusive.
But we covered
Very bad
Borderlands,
movie.
which is a production mess, but it's one where Jack Black shined because he is a CGI character, and obviously after a bunch of reshoots and production hell, they were like, please improvise a bunch and make this a little bit charming. But Sam Richardson is on set, so he doesn't have the luxury of making it all work later. So it kind of reminded me of that. It also reminded me of, and this was one of the Yahoo seasons of Community, so I don't think it was seen by as many. So it's basically just me. But it's a really good episode. The Yahoo seasons of Community are underestimated, are underappreciated. But it was one where it was Chang blew up for doing a commercial. He was the ham guy, and Ham and Abed had footage of him from a student film they were making, and some Hollywood producers came in and was like, "Well, you legally own that footage, so he has to be in it. So all we have to do is CGI a bunch of stuff around him. He's got a team of people. There's a couple of gagoos, and you've got to go get a MacGuffin that's going to explode, and you fight your way through it, and you get the explosion." That's how they filmed Guardians of the Galaxy. And that felt like this movie felt like the Community movie that they made within that, where it was like, well, what are we doing now? I don't know. I have a bomb in my boob. And,
she did.
And everyone just improvises and goes along with it.
I like how if you haven't seen this movie or Community, the listener doesn't know which fake story you just pulled from.
Yeah.
Which one had a bomb in the
Which one
boob?
had a bomb in the boob?
Which one had the gagoos?
Which one had the gagoos?
No.
You don't know at all. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that does follow that same plot of like we just had Michelle Yeoh and we just threw stuff around her and we're like, that's good enough.
Yep. That'll do it, won't
That'll do it. I think Sam Richardson really was trying. A couple of times they did give him an ADR joke because obviously they let him do as much as he could.
Yeah.
I think his best performances was when at the he got much better near the end when they finally just teamed him up with the straight lady from Starfleet. She's just straight-laced.
Comedy duo.
That's how you do it.
A straight-laced stiff person and then kind of a more outgoing comedy person. Boom. Boom. Set up punchline. Set up punchline.
The only actual joke in this whole thing is when she's like, weapons, and he's like, we have garbage. And like, he means it literally because they're a garbage scow, and he nails it and he sells it. But that joke doesn't work if those other two comedic people who are being louder in the room.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not It's Always Sunny. You can't just have yell humor. People think they can do yell humor.
People think It's Always Sunny has
special.
Sunny has thrown off the curve.
They think that's funny now.
Because Sunny does it right. Sunny is good.
Sunny's great.
But everyone thinks that they can yell over one another and that's comedy. And it's like, no, that's only comedy if you know how to do that kind of comedy.
And if you really build to it in a scene and you really earn it and you can still understand what's happening. You gotta, it's really hard.
It's really hard.
It looks like you can just like improv and yell and have a lot of fun, but it's hard.
To go back to some of the other things that gave you a headache, because you dropped like 9 magical things in a hot second. Magical.
What's the opposite of magic?
Toxic.
Toxic.
You dropped 9 toxic things in a hot second. Accents.
Oh, boy.
Accents.
Oh, don't do them.
Don't do them.
No.
Just don't do them.
Don't do them. There were so many, and they all seemed bad. Or
I think they're bad.
I think they're bad, and then there was this like bell curve. You can track this movie on a bell curve of how bad your accent is dictates the order you die in. The less accent you have, the longer you live in this movie.
Yeah.
Think of everyone who survived. the genetically modified guy, Sam Richardson, and the Starfleet girl.
Yeah.
The 3 people who basically didn't have accents.
Yep.
And everyone with an accent, killed.
Dead.
So don't do an accent.
And I don't understand
murdered.
why is the other thing. Why? Because it's like, if you're doing a movie where it's like, hey, there's a bunch of Irish characters. If you're playing Scotty, you need to do a Scottish accent. That's that character. If you're, if it's like, it's a new reboot of Star Trek, you're playing young Scotty, you have to do that accent. That is required. But it's like, there's nothing about the alien inside of a robot Vulcan that has to be Irish played by a South African. Why? Why would you do it?
The big and like it was. And here's the thing again. I think
And then he's Southern at the end.
Yeah, because that's a different character in the same robot body, and I feel like that's supposed to be the joke. Like, this guy's doing really bad accents, but then guess what? No one else can have an accent because then the joke doesn't land at all.
Yes. Yep.
Or they all have to have like legible accents.
At least something. Because it felt very much like, I'm like, who is casting these new Star Treks? Because it felt very similar to Rios in Picard as well, where he had versions where he had a bunch of different accents and dialects. And it's just like, this is a good actor that I would rather see him act than do a bunch of medium dialect work.
Yeah.
Even if he's medium. And I'm actually going to say that, like, this Irish accent is medium. It falls a little bit in caricature. It gets a little bit Lucky Charms at times.
Yeah.
It gets a little bit caricature, but it's medium. But he doesn't need to have it. And why is new Star Trek so attracted to, like, oh my God, we found an actor who can do like 3 accents. And if he doesn't do all 3 of them in this show, we're going to fucking kill ourselves. Like, casting director, why? Why?
And I think it's weird the focus on accents as well, because accent doesn't make new character. Because when I think of like the greatest Star Trek performance of new character, it's got to be Brent Spiner's ability to just play so many multiple versions of Data and Noonien Soong and like Data with emotions, Data without emotions, Data singing and dancing. Like he does a different character 8 or 9 episodes a season. And he like just nails it. And it's never accent work.
No, it's just great acting.
It's embodiment and it's acting. And it's not just like, no, I can do Irish and Southern. It's like, that's not anything.
That's not acting.
Are you a character?
Yes.
What's your backstory? What's your motivation?
What's your motivation?
Let's talk about acting.
Yeah. And it's another scenario where I'm like, I think this actor is better than this.
Oh, I think they all probably are.
But why multiple accents? You know, same thing with Mech Guy as well, where I'm like, this is, he's from somewhere in the UK. I'm like, I think you're doing Australian, but it doesn't seem like you don't seem comfortable in whatever you're doing.
Is his voice. He's the guy from Pacific Rim. He's the other brother, and I think that's what he sounded like.
Okay. It was light enough that I'm like, are you doing Australian?
Yeah, I'm not sure either way. Either way, he was kind of the least offensive to me of accents, but I agree that I wasn't like, you sound natural. He might have just sounded weird because they stuck a bunch of metal things to his face.
Oh, you know what? That actually might be the case.
Sometimes there's a bunch of metal stuck to your face.
Yeah.
And that really causes a problem.
Yeah. Okay, so it might be that.
Yeah. So, and also I feel like, just in terms of what you're saying about, like, why are you doing all this accent work and this weird casting, this movie also felt like cheap Star Wars instead of Star Trek. What I would say about this movie. I think especially like little guy in a Vulcan body is very like a Star Wars kind of idea.
All the ships felt like Star Wars as well.
They felt, they're garbage scows, like very original Star Wars. And that should be a compliment, but it's not, because this is Star Trek. And I want it to feel like Star Trek.
Yeah, it's not where you exist. You shouldn't be here.
Don't try to be Star Wars. Star Trek rules.
Yeah.
Why doesn't it feel like, and why is there only one Starfleet person here? Like, what is Section 31? I thought Section 31 was a Starfleet thing.
Let's get into that.
Let's get into that.
Let's talk to the waste of the Section 31 of it all.
What an absolute loser waste. Like, I'm so excited about Section 31 shit. I love Section 31. DS9 level Section 31 are some of my favorite episodes, and I thought it was because I have a crush on Bashir, but then Andrew said he liked them too. So it means they're actually good.
It's scary, and it's cool, and it's just really good shit.
Yeah, just this shadow agency that, like, not the way we have agencies that, like, were like the FBI, but one that you can't even prove is real.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's very cool. It's very cool. And it's hyper competent, which is one of the other things that's cool, where it's like, this is something that, like, I always find kind of interesting about conspiracy theories in general, is that when people talk about conspiracy theories, I'm like, yes, but most governments are inefficient and people are generally quite dumb, and working in groups a lot of the times make us dumber and more vulnerable. And if there were some kind of shadow organization that did anything, they would have to be a group of the most flawless people that have ever existed. Stone cold killers who are not just like they are physically Jason Bourne and mentally playing political games comparable to like Game of Thrones. They are Littlefinger with Jason Bourne's body. Like that is what you would have to be to execute some real shadow organization shit on a not just global, but intergalactic scale. And that's what's so fucking scary about Section 31. But they just made it the Guardians of the Galaxy, well, like kind of Suicide Squad, where they're like, what if we took 6 suicidal losers and sent them off on a mission? And I'm like, I guess that is a story, but it's not.
It's not Section 31.
It's not Section 31.
Section 31 is not losers. They're all hyper competent. Like, if I may get into the plot as little as there is, the opening kind of action piece is that they're trying to rob this guy of a bomb. Like, there's 6 of us, and we have varying abilities and powers. We've got a shapeshifter and a mind reader, and this guy's a robot, and you don't even know it, and this guy's got a mech suit. And I'm like, oh, what are we stealing? Oh, an overweight man who has a briefcase and no security? I could steal that briefcase. He has a gun, and he's holding the briefcase with the bomb in it, and there is no other security. You are the most incompetent people in the world.
And he willingly walks into a room of a person who previously worked for Section 31.
Yeah, and he's alone. He has no backup plan. You didn't need any of this phasing shit. They had this incredibly complicated plan where the shapeshifter was going to replace somebody, and then they were going to drug him.
They even they keep doing this Ocean's 11 thing or like this well, here's what's going to happen. And they think that that's comedy. Like they're acting like it's comedy in the way that Shaun of the Dead does that of to be like, we're going to go by Liz's place and we're going to do this smash cut, smash cut, smash cut. But it's not funny. And part of the plan was we're going to use the mech guy to punch him. And then the Alok, Alok.
I don't know what he was saying.
When the thing actually happens, the mech guy walks in and Alok punches him, and he's like, "I'm augmented, so I'm also super strong." And I'm like, "Okay, so we don't actually need the mech guy then.
No.
You've unwritten one of your own plot points."
You're all just fodder for
it's bananas.
The killing machine as the movie goes on. But yeah, the running Section 31's name through the mud is not cool.
Through the mud.
Because I get why they'd want Giorgio originally, Michelle Yeoh's character. She's incredible badass. She's wildly smart. She's kind of what you said of the Jason Bourne of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
She's politically smart. She can physically fight. She's ruthless. So I get why Section 31 would have wanted her. And then it's all these losers who just show up who suck at their jobs.
And there's nothing Black Ops about this.
Nothing.
There's no shadow organization-ness about this. It's literally just your mission is a big bomb will blow you up. And if you don't want to blow up, stop big bomb. And that's not what a shadow, that's what...
No, regular Starfleet officers would just do this. We were past the border.
But
we still sent one Starfleet officer.
We sent one. And even if they didn't, Michelle Yeoh's character, Giorgio?
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 It's a strange pronunciation, but...
Giorgio would just be I also don't want to... even throughout the story, she's I actually don't like this bomb, and I want it off. And that's all the motivation you need. You don't need Section 31 in any way clogging up the gears.
No, this doesn't need to be in the title ruining it. Because, the main thing I remember from Section 31 was they were trying to recruit Bashir, and they were you have to give up your whole life. You'll have to lose your family and your friends, and you'll never see them again. And then this Starfleet character is just in Section 31. She's yeah, I go back to my ship back and forth. I just got promoted. I'm still fully in Starfleet.
I also kind of run a bar and have a whole shadow broker thing on the side just for funsies.
Yeah, I got this blue wig.
It's not even a thing they put me undercover for. I just do it. I'm kind of a part-timer.
Not anything that Section 31 is. Very mad. If I was the person who invented Section 31 for DS9, I'd be furious. Even though I don't know if you get money for a concept. I know you get money if you create a character and they keep using them. I don't know if you get money for a concept.
I don't believe you do, because the only other created by the credit on this is Gene Roddenberry.
Yeah,
which sucks.
So that's...
Which sucks. But yeah, it's not Section 31. It doesn't need to be called Section 31. And it burns a perfectly terrific storyline and series of ideas that Star Trek has had.
It does. Mm-hmm. I'll be slightly positive for a second, but it's slight. It's pretty slight.
It'd be nice to get a little positivity going.
I'm going to get a little positivity going. I do like the idea and some of the execution of the phased out fight.
I also kind of like that. Yeah.
Yeah, a really neat idea. I've put a phasing out device on the bomb, and I'm wearing a phasing out device. So you can't touch me, but I can pick up the bomb and move it to another location. And then someone else shows up who's also phased out. So then only we can fight because we're the only two that are phased out. And everyone's like, how do we fight them? And then you have to unphase to pick up the bomb because I've unphased the bomb. There's a lot of moving parts, and it's a really cool idea. It's not executed super great, but it's executed better than this movie deserves, if that makes sense. Better than I would expect this bad movie to execute this phased out fight.
I think it's executed fine.
Yeah. It's executed absolutely fine.
I think a better version of it is kind of the fight with Ghost in Ant-Man 2.
Ooh.
Is a
she's
better...
the only one that can phase.
But still, they play off of that choreography really well of like phasing through people. So that's a slightly better version of. But this is still a competent version of this.
Yeah, the phasing and unphasing things is like to use them and to unuse them. It's kind of like growing and shrinking objects that Ant-Man does in the same vein. Sometimes you're like you unphase yourself just so you can run over objects. Sometimes you phase so you can go through a wall. So it's a neat idea, and it goes longer than I'd expect in like a good way of like, oh good, something actiony is happening. It's actually kind of choreographed nice. So I had fun. And then they just conveniently have her leg get stuck in a wall. Very, very Vin Diesel The Rock-esque of she's not allowed to lose a fight.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't thought of it like that.
It really felt that way. It's like, oh no, she lost this fight. Well, it's because the technology broke. It's not because she can't fight.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It really felt that way.
See, I didn't get that feeling just because there were so many plot contrivances throughout the entire film where it was like, yeah, she's phasing through things, and then at one point her leg gets stuck, so the enemy gets away with the MacGuffin, and it's like, oh, my leg got stuck, and it's like, why? It was because it was plot convenient in that moment. And then there were a few other moments like the big bomb. And the whole MacGuffin of this movie is a bomb that can destroy a whole quadrant, is kind of what they said for a general scale of the Star Trekian space. It's a bomb that will kill all life in a human quadrant, but I guess not the planets. They said it's like a biovirus that jumps from planet to planet, killing all life, but they can still mine resources.
Yeah, so that's why the people from the Mirror Universe are going to come through and they'll be like, sweet, so much gold, or whatever they need.
The fuck they want.
I don't know what you need.
I don't know what they need in the Mirror Universe. So it's that, and then at one point it falls off a pedestal and it just turns on.
The bomb that destroys the quadrant is turned on when it falls off a table.
Yeah.
I don't know if your engineers were really the best in the universe, like you said they were, Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah. Rough one. And there were a few other that I forget now that were just
I wrote down a couple.
That were just like, hey, a thing happened because we need something to happen right now to stop people.
Oh, the girl's handcuffs just came off.
Yeah, she was like, I'm handcuffed.
Everyone forgot about me. And then they're just
And
off.
then she just wasn't handcuffed. And she's like, hey.
Neat.
Okay, great.
But she was absolutely handcuffed. They thought she was the murderer when they handcuffed her. Yeah, so just a lot of like, we don't know how to write around this. The handcuffs fall off. She got stuck in a wall. The bomb fell over and turned on. And we're good at this.
Oh. And it's such a missed opportunity for there's so many missed opportunities for charm and humanity here as well that they just go for plot contrivances and just kind of letting things happen. Like that idea of she's handcuffed to a chair because they think there's a mole or a traitor in the group who killed one of them and they don't know who it is, but they think it's her and they handcuff her to a chair. Then they find out it isn't her and a chase begins, but she's left handcuffed to a chair. And I actually had a fraction of a second where I had faith in this movie.
I agreed. I think I know where you're going. I was like, oh, this is going to be neat.
I had a fraction of a second where and she stood up. I was like, the chair's not bolted to anything. And she stood up and just had a lightweight chair stuck to her back and started kind of moving. And I was like, oh my God, we're going to have a chase scene where a person just has a flimsy chair smacking around their back the whole time. That's funny and charming and real and kind of adds a lightweight frustration and tension to this friend group all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. And then she goes, oh, no, it isn't. And it wasn't. And then it's not.
And then she was free.
And then there's just no conflict.
Yeah, and she didn't like break the chair or the handcuffs, guys. She just kind of twisted a little and suddenly.
And then it just wasn't.
They weren't attached to her wrist. Not even that she like was free. They weren't even on her wrist. And I agree. I didn't think she was going to join the chase scene because both the cars had already left. But I always thought she was going to go have to work a computer with her hands handcuffed to a chair and would probably be like sitting in it while she has to type all twisted, which I think is also very funny.
Yeah.
She'd be like, you try to work a console with a chair tied to your arms.
Lots of funny stuff they could do. Yeah. And it's just a lot of wasted potential, I think, throughout this movie.
This movie is basically all wasted potential. I mean, speaking of, Sam Richardson plays a shapeshifter who, plot-wise, never has to shapeshift.
Never shapeshifts.
Now, you know what? Just because you're a shapeshifter doesn't mean you're going to run into a situation where you need shapeshifting or you will have to shapeshift. But usually when you write that into a movie, it's a little bit relevant.
Yeah. It's not, though.
It's not, though. He does
instead,
it one time to, like, catch someone who fell off a platform because he can venom. He can fully just web out.
Well, that was the thing. They're like, well, he's a shapeshifter, so he jumps off of a speeding hover vehicle to catch someone and then turns into a venom symbiote where, like, his shape-shifting abilities create, like, a bunch of tentacles.
Actually looked kind of cool.
And it looked kind of cool, but I'm like, that's a different power. You've not shape-shifted, but you have venom symbiote.
Yeah.
Like, you have that. That's a whole new thing.
Yeah, that's why, like, you should be in more fight scenes.
Yeah.
Because you're not using that to infiltrate anything. You haven't shapeshifted even once. The only time he shapeshifts is at the end as just a goof to try to fool Michelle Yeoh after they're all done. They're like, no, it's me. Let's have a drink.
And that's it.
Just it's not even a goof.
It's not funny. It's not
anything.
It's not funny.
It's not anything. So yeah, introducing a shapeshifter who never shapeshifts. Now I say that like it hasn't happened on our own spin-off podcast, Comedians in Dungeons Getting Dragons.
No!
So sometimes it
Shade on Grey. No.
If you're hoping for that character to shapeshift, you gotta wait a long time. So whoever wrote this is a fan.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
You don't have to shapeshift just because you can.
You don't have to. Sometimes a changeling just wants to be one thing.
I would want to be Sam Richardson.
Yeah, he's fun. He's having a great time. Mm-hmm. He's Sam Richardson. Why he wasn't like Odo's species from DS9 or whatever.
God, of course.
To be like, yeah, that could have been a shapeshifter that would have been way more interesting to do.
Because like callbacks to races you don't meet much are so interesting. Like the waiter.
Loved the waiter who was the half black, half white from original series.
Those guys never come back.
They never come back, and it's just like it's so unique, and that is a nice Trek detail to be like. That was a moment where it's like, oh, you actually have reverence for Star Trek.
Yeah, on a similar vein, I was really surprised the mech guy wasn't like a Borg.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have mech guys in Star Trek. It's not a thing I've ever seen. What we do have is people who were Borg and then got rehumanized and would still have Borg bodies.
Okay, now this is feeling even more like a Sony Spider-Man villainverse film.
We didn't have rights to the Borg.
They didn't have the legal rights to some of the shit that Star Trek has, where it's like, he's not a Borg, okay? He's a Blorgon, which is a type of robot mech man, all right?
Okay. No, he's not an android like Data. He's a robot of a Vulcan with a tiny guy inside.
You see Men in Black? It's like that, but legally not. It's kind of that thing.
Yeah, we got a shapeshifter, but not like Odo.
I forget the name of his species.
The Founders.
Oh, shit. Good pull.
I got stuff.
Yeah. It's not a founder.
It's not a founder. He's basically Venom, but he's not Venom.
Yeah.
Because we don't own Venom either.
Yeah.
We don't own shit.
We don't own shit. It's not Venom. It's not Venom. You do see a guy who is named Uncle Ben, and his nephew is named... And that happens in Star Trek Section 31, okay?
And Madam Web.
But legally different, because they don't have the rights, so everybody be cool. No one tells Star Trek they made this one, all right? Everyone shut up.
Shut up.
Everyone shut up about this one. They don't know that they made this one.
That's the Section 31 of it all.
That's
the
secret the whole time.
That's the organizational secret.
Well, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of, now that we've discussed everything we've discussed, what would you change about this if you could change anything? Before we do ask the final question, we will remind you, as we do every week, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. It helps us move up the charts. It helps us find new listeners. The mysterious algorithm is something that we're always praying to. Pray to the algorithm. And
I don't think they're hearing us.
We
need more voices.
We need the voices.
Like when you have a congregation.
Yeah, like the founders.
Like the
we all need to. Yeah, they all puddle together.
Oh, the big ocean of goo.
The big ocean of goo.
So let's all be the big ocean of goo, you guys.
Leave that in a review. Say I'm part of the ocean of goo.
And
I'm one of the
will
founders,
understand.
and everyone will get that you're basically Odo. And that's it.
That's it. That's how you help us.
That's how you help us for free. If you do want to support the show monetarily, you can do that over on Patreon, which is our monthly subscription service where you can subscribe at whatever is in your budget. You can do $1 a month, $5, 10, 15, whatever it is that you have going on in your life. And you'll get cool bonuses for doing so. At the $1 level, you get our webcomic early. At the $3 level, you get these episodes early and ad-free. So you could be listening to this before the weekend and have no ads in the episode. At the $10 a month level, you get a bonus episode every single month of this podcast. During this episode, I even mentioned our Borderlands episode, which was one of our Patreon exclusives. And if you sign up at the $10 level, you get immediate access to the full catalog of our previous Patreon exclusives. So there's a lot of extra listening there. And if you keep going at that level, you'll get our monthly exclusives going forward. All of the other bonuses as well, so you still get the early and the ad-free. And if there is a Patreon exclusive that you want to listen to, and it's just that one that you're very interested in, for $5, you can also purchase that one Patreon exclusive episode as well.
Yeah, people have been enjoying that option, which I really like. Yeah, we did Shape of Water last month. The month before, we did Secret Level, which people seem intrigued about.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in Secret Level. Secret Level, that was
Secret Level got like a quiet interest.
I liked our episode on that too. That was quite fun because it's an anthology, so there's a lot of up and down, and some more disagreement than usual.
Our rankings of the individual episodes were very interesting.
Yeah, disagreeing but playful in that one.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. So those are all over on our Patreon. Check out all of the options. Lots of cool options. You're not locked in, so you can always cancel or change your level on any given month if your finances change. But if you do want, we also have the option of you can do monthly or you can do yearly, and then you get 1 month free as well. Lots of cool options depending on what your budget is. Check it out all over at patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That is patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And now, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question. Now that we've discussed everything we've discussed, what would you change about this if you could change anything? Diana, what would you change?
Oh, this is tough because this movie's a real mess. It's almost unsalvageable. Like if I was a salvage ship, I would just be like, throw this one into the sun. We're not getting any money for this salvage. But if I had to,
use Sam Richardson's garbage ship and just yeet it into the sun.
I'd love to yeet it into the sun. I'd love to have not watched this. Speaking of Sam Richardson, yes, one of my changes is he does a lot more. I just love Sam Richardson. I would team him up with that Starfleet Lady Moore, like a straight person and a comedic person. It's always the better matchup. Lots of comedy gold there. Everyone would just be competent. Is like the smaller change. Like I would like to feel like these people know what they're doing. This isn't supposed to be Guardians of the Galaxy. It's supposed to be the Nova Corps if we're in the same universe. Just very hyper competent, well trained people, which I don't feel they are. And then I think the biggest change would just be like at least 2 people don't have accents. Just can't understand what's happening. These conversations were indecipherable to me, and it's all exposition. So like you needed to be actively listening the whole time, and it hurt my head so much. So I'm sorry to everyone's accents, but I need fewer of them. Or I guess I could turn my subtitles on, but we were already so far in, it felt like quitting. It felt like giving up. So those are my big changes. More Sam Richardson, less accents, more competency. That's all I can do. 3 changes is more than 1, but it needs it. Andrew, what would you change in Section 31?
I love that. Fewer accents. I'm definitely on board for that. It might be unsalvageable. I would say that like it needs a page one rewrite is what I would say, that like this needs an entirely new script top to bottom. I think they tried to salvage what the season TV show script was, and that was the wrong instinct. You should have just started with a page one rewrite and do everything from scratch. I think this movie, my big change is that it needs to start with Michelle Yeoh's character still being in Section 31. It just needs to be, I'm a member of Section 31. Because why she needs to be pulled back in is all kind of meaningless.
Because they don't even know that it's from the mirror universe.
And yeah.
That wasn't even the reason they pulled her in.
Yeah.
The bomb.
And I think that like she needs to be the central character, because there needs to be a central character and a team leader. And I think it should be her being like, hey, I know this group of people. And I think there needs to be like a Section 31 recruiter head person who's like, we run a fucking tight ship here. We don't do this shit. And her being like, okay, you're right. We don't do this shit. Wink. And being like, no, we don't do this shit. And her being like, read you loud and clear. Wink. If we're going to go playful, it needs to be her almost going rogue from Section 31 to be like, I will round up any lunatic. I've led a galaxy of lunatics before. I will reign control of the worst people you can imagine. You need to have faith in me in doing that. Because right now it's just lunatics leading each other. But I could kind of get on board with the ragtag crew idea if it's her being like, hey, Section 31, I got it. You need to look away.
I got
And
lunatics.
this is going to get weird.
I got people who respect me, and they're crazy, but they're good at what they do.
And that would at least feel more Section 31. It would still like not necessarily be the espionage spy thing that I think that Section 31 could be, but it would at least be a competent person being like, I need you to not look while I do some fucking weird shit. And I think that makes way more sense. So I think from minute one, she's a part of Section 31. She is pretending to run this bar to be close to a breach in the quadrant where a fraction in the mirror universe is expected to happen, and she's keeping an eye on it to see if her people come through. And then she's got this group of people from her bar to be like, I'm going to round y'all up because we can't get the Starfleet involved.
This makes so much sense. Love it all.
That's my inciting change for a page one rewrite.
This movie still wouldn't be called Section 31, but it would be a way better movie.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
Woo!
We did it.
We did it-ish.
We did it. We certainly did it-ish. Well, that's going to do it then for this week on the podcast for us talking about Star Trek Section 31. Next week on the podcast, we are going to be back, and we're building up to Captain America Brave New World.
Here we go.
A movie in which Harrison Ford, from the trailers, it seems to be running for president. So why not do a movie where Harrison Ford is the president?
And is on a plane, because Captain America can fly.
Air Force One. We're doing Air Force One next week on the podcast, a Harrison Ford presidential buildup. So
it's so fun when you've done all the Marvel movies that you have to just figure out different build-up movies, and I think we nailed it on this one.
We're not wrong.
We're right.
We're not wrong.
Him as a Harrison Ford president movie. We're doing it.
Hear us out.
I can't wait to see Captain America 4 and be like, this is a callback to Air Force One.
Yeah.
We're going to spot it.
I hope he tells someone to get off his plane.
Oh, shit, he might.
He might. So
maybe someone will tell him to do that.
I'd love it.
Oh.
So next week, we're going to be talking about Air Force One on the podcast. In the meantime, if you want to get a hold of us, you can find me online most places. Lately, specifically, I've been on Blue Sky a lot more, and I am at Ivimey, I-V-I-M-E-Y.
You can find me at Words of Diana or Pics of Diana on Instagram. I'm mostly on Tumblr and Blue Sky.
And you can find both of us most places at From Superheroes. And you can check out everything we create on our website, FromSuperheroes.com. And we'll talk to you all next week.
Bye.